Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to a Better Life discussion. I'm your host, Marcia Trajano, and with me are Dr. Anahy Fonseca and Sinclair and Jussara Korngold. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you who is joining us via the internet. Just please note the Psychology and Spirituality program is brought to you by AME Brazil, United States Spiritist Federation, the TV Mansão do Caminho, and the International Spiritist Council. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you'd like to check out other channels, please check it out at www.spiritist.us. Take a moment to send your comments, your questions, any type of feedback. We welcome all of them. And we are in the process of maybe collecting some key questions to create a special episode to address them specifically. And finally, if you are interested in, let me go ahead and put here, in knowing more about this subject that we're going to be talking today, we highly recommend that you follow these books written by Joanna de Angelis. In the first one, it's in English, Life, Challenge, and Solutions. And the second one, I don't believe it's been published in English yet. I will not bore you with my Portuguese, but here they are for your reference. And wanted to tell you that I am eager. I am eager to learn more about this subject. So I know you probably are as eager as I am. So I'm gonna just ask Anahy if you could, can you get us started talking about sensations, emotions, feelings? Do we control them? Do they control us? Are they good? Are they bad? Tell us about it.
Hello, everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here again, and that's quite some questions, Marcia. So let's talk about all that. I wanted to start with one of Carl Gustav Jung's quotes when he says, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." So I think that's a quite a provoking quote by Jung, and that we should keep in mind while discussing sensations, emotions, and feelings. So let's start with what Joanna tells us in those beautiful books that Marcia showed you all. So she says that emotions and feelings present a rich and thought provoking universe for everyone who wants to know and transform himself, herself for the better. It can be said that human beings not only have emotions, but they can be possessed by them, since they often act thoughtlessly or are destabilized by these forces, causing different reactions that they commonly regret. Concerning feelings, the reasoning is the same, considering that there are positive and negative feelings that take us over and sometimes dominate a large part of our lives, even directing our thoughts.
So,
So we could
Anaí, and
say,
sorry,
sorry.
I was going to say, can you talk a little bit about how does an emotion dominate our lives? How can an emotion control someone's life specifically?
So exactly, I was going to tell you all about that.
Oh, wonderful.
Because the human being has great difficulty, as Marcia is already realizing in you all, and we, because we are talking about ourselves, right? We are trying to look at ourselves, our psyche, and our emotions and feelings. So we all have difficulty in dealing with these forces, perhaps precisely because of the impossibility of total control of them by intelligence and reasoning. So, Marcia, I think, and everybody, when I was reading Joanna again and I was reflecting about all of this, I remember a character that it's everybody, especially in the US and also in Europe, everybody we remember Mr. Spock from Star Trek, okay, the Vulcan. So we all love him dearly. And I know we can connect. Remember, people, that the Vulcans were the first extraterrestrial to get in contact with us in the movie. So they are, of course, fictional characters. But we hope someday, maybe, who knows, right? But the thing is that they are a species that attempt to control by reasoning, reasoning and rationalizing, we could say, okay, the emotions. They even have a ritual, and trackers are going to kill me if I say wrong, but I think it's something like Kolinar or something like that. That it's a ritual where they go through to try to purge emotions. So what we know is that they have emotions, but they spend a lot of time trying to control them. Okay, and so to be in control of emotions, maybe it's a dream of all of us, right? But the thing is that if we deny emotions, okay, for instance, I feel something that I think it's quite negative, envy, for instance. Or, first of all, I feel, and we're going to be talking in the program about some slight differences between emotion and feelings. They could be
Mhm.
used as synonyms, but but there are some difference, small difference, but very important. But let's say that somebody made, something that I didn't like against me, and I got mad, really mad. And then I don't think it's quite okay to be mad at someone, to say that I'm angry, that I'm enraged, and it's
Mhm.
not nice to be like this. It's not mature. So what I can do, and most people do actually, even unconsciously, is to try to deny what I'm feeling, because the ego already has our consciousness already has made some kind of judgment and say this is no good, is going to affect the way that other people look at me. They are not going to say, oh, you are okay. They are going to say, you know this person is not okay, because even our expression changes when we are feeling very angry at someone. So what happens that the ego represses or denies, and the emotion falls to the unconscious. In a very simple way, we can say that. But exactly because it goes to our unconscious mind, we give more strength, okay, because then we are not in control anymore. So what happens is that in the first moment, it will appear, okay, in a similar situation, it will suddenly burst, from down to up, we could say, to our consciousness, without our control.
Mhm.
And then we look back when we calm down and think, how could I have act like that? It's not me, it was somebody who took over. But it is exactly us. And it's just because we don't know ourselves that we have already judged that as very bad. We have tried with the ego mechanism that we can talk in another program to repress, to deny, to put in the unconscious. Okay, it's out of my mind. I think it's out of my mind, but our mind our minds are made of the conscious stuff and the unconscious, okay?
Mhm.
So actually it's there and it gets much more energy because it's the unconscious, we could say in a very simple way. So what happens is that, okay, I'm going living my life. Oh, I feel bad. I feel okay. Sorry, I feel okay. Because now I'm not feeling, not judging in myself. I have control. I got control over my emotions. And exactly the opposite, they are there, the emotion is there, and I lost control because now my conscious is not dealing with the emotion anymore. So let's go back to Mr. Spock. So in the remake of Star Trek with the young guys, I don't know if you remembered, some years ago, they were great, by the way, the movie. So remember, well, I don't want to give spoilers, but and everybody has already seen the movie. So what happens is that Spock is a child of two worlds. I think this is great because the mother is from Earth and the father is a Vulcan. So he's always in conflict. Should he try to purge his emotions, or and go through all the way through the ritual, the Kolinar or whatever it's called, or should he just accept that he has emotions like we do on Earth and try to make a balance of everything that and accept who he is. So this is, I like very much the character because it's a conflict that we all have in our evolution.
Could we
And
say, sorry to interrupt, but could you say that he's actually epitomizes exactly what Jung was saying? He cannot get better until he finds the conflict within himself. Therefore, Mr. Spock is repressing culturally. His background pushes him to repress, but his conflict about repressing and feeling emotions is actually what makes him better.
I like very much Marcia. Yes. I like very much your comment. Exactly. Because, I remember a scene. Okay, spoiler alert, please. In this movie with the young guys, they are great. And when his planet Vulcan explodes or something, in a black hole, the bad guy made all of this, and Spock loses the mother, okay, in the transport. They weren't able. And in the first, imagine you were holding your mother's hand, and suddenly she's not there anymore. Okay, so it's a very important part, and very deep. You can see the suffering. The actor is great, by the way, and you can see the suffering in his face. So and the astonished, he's the impact is huge,
Mhm.
but he goes on as like if because he's now he's the person responsible, the commander or whatever of the ship. And the thing is that the captain, and the thing is that he tries to goes on
Mhm.
uh, as if nothing had happened. He tries to be a good Vulcan, let's
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
right? And what happens, a lot of things goes on, but in the end, the old Spock, by the way, Leonard Nimoy, wherever you are, we love you. We hope you're fine. Thank you so much for Mr. Spock. Live long and prosper. And the thing is that, okay, the old Spock tells Kirk, spoiler alert again, that he should try to emotionally compromise the young Spock so that everything can go back to the timeline that they need, that
Mhm.
Kirk be the captain and Spock be the second in command, whatever.
Mhm.
And the friendship can goes on because the friendship will define them. So what happens is that Kirk really does that, because the old Spock said this is very, very important to be done. And he almost gets killed because Vulcans are much stronger than humans, right?
Hmm.
And then Spock, at that moment, when the father says, Spock, then Spock suddenly realized, okay, that he was totally possessed by the emotion, by the rage he was feeling that was projected onto Kirk. So this is one of the mechanisms of defense that we do. The
Hmm.
replacement, we it's not there in that person in that situation that I'm mad at, but then I repressed so much and denied so much. Then in the first occasion, I will project onto another person on that situation. And then he says to the medical person, can't remember the name now, but trackers, please forgive me. It's a great character, the doctor. And Bones, Kirk calls him Bones. So he tells Bones to write down that he's stepping down from, from being the captain because he is emotionally compromised. At
Hmm.
that moment, he says that I'm emotionally compromised. So, in the moment that you say, Martian and everybody, that you recognize the emotion and the emotion can be in your conscious mind, then you are in control. Isn't that a paradox? But
Yes.
it's very important that I can acknowledge my own emotions because then I am in control. Then I'm working emotionally, mentally, and I'm accepting everything that I am. If I don't accept my emotions, it will be very hard for me to deal with them. I don't know if I made it a little bit clear.
This this is perfect. But I wanted to maybe pause here to ask Jusada and Anne and you and Naid to talk a little bit about the whole, if there is a continuum, and I don't know if there is, but the difference in the continuum between sensation, emotions, feeling. Is this a good time for us maybe spend a minute, or what are examples perhaps, so that it contextualizes this discussion to the public? What is an example of a sensation? What is an example of emotion? What is an example of a feeling?
Okay.
Sorry, can I just jump in before that? Sorry.
Sure, sure.
It's just because I think Anaïs said such important things, and had me thinking. Because I'm just thinking, at least about my own life, and perhaps many people are like me. When I was a child, when I was being brought up by my parents, and you had strong emotions, you were told you can't have this, you can't be angry, you can't cry, you can't kick off, you must be a good person, you must be a good girl, kind of repressing, teaching you to repress your emotions from childhood. That's my generation. We were brought up like that. To be good kids, you had to control and you almost like ignore and put behind you and swallow your emotions. Even I
Mhm,
remember sometimes the swallowing of the crying and the anger, it hurt your throat, that
mhm,
feeling of having to swallow it. So we are brought up like that, and now you're suggesting actually, well, it's not the way forward, perhaps. That the way forward is to recognize our emotions, but what do we do with them when we recognize them? We can't all go around behaving completely emotional because the world will not function. So I was just thinking that, because what do we put in place of it? You see what I mean? Because if this is the way we've been brought up, and say, yeah, okay, I'm trying to acknowledge, okay, I'm in the traffic, the person cut in front of me. Yeah, I'm angry. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. This it's all gone, gone, gone. No, it's not gone because I'm still angry because that person cut ahead of me and made me break suddenly or whatever. Simple occasion in life. But I'm just thinking, it's like we need new tools, new ways of acknowledging our emotions and what to do with them, to not to be angry with them, not to think they're bad things of the devil or the bad
mhm,
side. I don't
mhm.
know if you have something that you could help us suggest?
And
I think
Jussara, I
this
think, go ahead, Jussara.
I just wanted to say something because I think it goes along the line of what Anne is talking about, and then Anahy can bring all the conclusions. And since we are being personal, one crazy experience that I had with emotion, and maybe I'm still dealing with that, is some years ago, I had breast cancer, and I went through all the surgeries, etc. And my mother died of breast cancer as a result of years later. And I would be going to the oncologist, the hospital all the time, and then you see all those patients that are going through cancer, very skinny, very pale, all of that. And during that time, I went to the opposite way. I started putting on weight, and it came to a point that, of course, I was overweight, but I couldn't do anything about it. And finally, I came to the realization that that was a result of, the fear, and the mathematics that I was doing was the following: if I lose weight, if I'm skinny, it's because I'm going to die. It's because my cancer is bad. And it took me, so many years to deal with that, and to finally start losing weight. And the crazy thing is, I knew it, but I couldn't control it. It was stronger than me in terms of, I know I went to talk even to the psychiatrist and psychologist at the cancer hospital. And I told her, I know what is going on, but how can I, hold this down? So I think it's in the lines of how what Anne was talking about as well, in terms of emotions, and they're there.
Mhm.
The both examples are very difficult in your case, Sarah, and but are very important because everybody, a lot of people go through the same experiences that you have both have. And for instance, Jussara, we could say that in that moment, you and everybody else that have to face, cancer or a disease that are diseases that are life-threatening, right? Have to deal with fear of dying, even if we already know, for instance, as spiritists, that consciousness go on, that we live, beyond the death of the body, but it's not the death of the spirit, that spirit goes on, but the ego and other parts of ourselves, or that Jung called complexes, okay? Like small personalities, the child that, or the adolescent, or the young woman that you were when your mother died, for instance, and you had to help her through all her process. So the memory of the feelings that you had on those moments are imprinted in your brain and in your mind. So even if you now are an adult and have another knowledge and understanding of life, and you don't have to be afraid, but of course you are a human being, and you are here with an ego and with an experience of life and with complexes together, okay? And that have memories. They have memories, they have purpose, they have experiences related to some emotions. So what you were feeling was, of course, that made you gain weight and things like that. Of course, you have told yourself that was fear of, being as watching those people losing weight and maybe being near death with that struggle with cancer. But to acknowledge fear, and it has to be in your own time. It's not the time of the watch. It's not the time of, oh, but now, okay, I have to, overcome this because I know I'm an adult and I'm a spiritist. But
Mhm.
you are not dealing with your conscious mind in this moment. You are dealing with memories and parts of yourself that are in the unconscious. So what we say is that we have to be strong to go through the suffering and be able to acknowledge the feeling, the emotion, okay, and just be able to hold the emotion and to remember, not being afraid of remember, to because then you're going to make connections. Oh, when, okay, I'm an adult, I have all this new concepts that are not only concepts. I live what I believe. I have my beliefs. I have my spirituality. So this should make okay for me to go through a difficult period in life, and maybe not. Maybe we're going to feel different emotions that are not exactly from this moment in time, but they are in the unconscious. So we have to hold them, like a mother holds the baby. You can be with me because you are part of my experience and you are precious. It's okay. It's all part of myself. And why are all these emotions precious? Because they teach us things. Like example that Anne told us in the traffic. Why do sometimes people just lose it totally? Okay, they get mad, they go out of the car, they go in a struggle if they don't do worse things, right?
Mhm.
Because they think that it's not okay for me to be angry or to enrage myself with someone. But just remember, if I felt, I felt. It's part of me. So if I say it's okay, then my memory of those moments, for instance, in the traffic, it was wrong what somebody did to me because almost, I got in an accident. The person, or maybe I was not paying attention, talking the mobile or what, texting. Don't do that, people, right? And then, okay, there was something that I can be mad at the other driver, but the mistake was mine. So many times this happens. So if I just hold, okay, I'm angry and I got mad and I want to scream. If you want to scream, scream with the windows and closed, okay? But then there will be a memory of what happened because the memories in our brain, they are much related to the emotions in the moment. And if I can hold everything in that precise moment, probably I'm not going to make a lot of sense. It's not going to make a lot of sense to me. But later on, because I haven't repressed and I say, okay, I didn't like myself, okay, in those moments, but the feeling, the emotion is there, so it's there. But then I can start relating and working with the emotions and not letting some other complex in my unconscious take over. So then I am in control. And then the memory, okay, I'll have to learn. Then we learn, people, because
Mhm.
then I learn, oh, I shouldn't text while I'm driving. I made an error, and the other driver was also doing whatever, so that was bad. Then I don't do it again. You see how important it is. And for instance, in Jussara's example, if it's always painful to connect to memories when we lose someone, okay, memories of loss, memories of some watching somebody that we love, hurting or having to face a difficult treatment, for instance. But this moment, this suffering that we have been going through, if we can just realize, okay, my fear is to be exactly like that, then you are going to unfold a lot of other feelings that were there in the experience and that you repressed. And then you discover a lot of meaning and purpose to that moment, to those moments. And then suddenly you are not afraid anymore. And then suddenly, okay, you are going to lose weight. Naturally, don't have to struggle because you're not afraid anymore, for instance, in your example. But I think it's great that you had help, psychological help, because sometimes people say, no, I have to be strong and I will understand what's going on with me. And if it is in the unconscious, so maybe, and very well, hidden, maybe sometimes we need help to go through, and something that it's in the unconscious. I don't know what you think about. Is that a little okay with this comment?
Yes, yes. And I even think, and I when we're talking about those projections of the fears, etc., and the complexes, that it's all there, and that's why they're not simple, they're complex. I'm just making a joke here.
Yes.
But it's a lot to deal with. But one of the things that came to my mind, Anahy, when in discussing the example, which is a master example, and the, being angry with somebody cutting you off while you're driving. And the beauty of it is that we human beings, as social gregarious animals, we learn exactly when we're inserted into a collective. Therefore, feeling anger, and we can talk about, why am I angry? Because I almost had an accident, or is it because I want to be the first to arrive, or whatever? Is it my ego, or is it my sense of preservation, right? So I think it's really interesting to start to check in the mechanism, in my point of view, and you may want to confirm or completely say, no, Marcia, you're wrong. Is that self check? It's the self discovery. It's the process of analyzing. And as we today, we remember about a year ago, when in the Oscars, I don't know if you remember, where Will Smith comes in and just slaps uh, Chris Rock, the comedian, in his face. And boy, did that just kept going on and on and on, and we could not talk about the event. And I think that itself was the basis of, how do I feel about being attacked? What is the whole sense of dignity or pride, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So I think those moments, the collective moments, be it on TV or be it in traffic with your windows rolled up so you can scream, those are great opportunity for us to face those emotions and try to understand rationally. I'm going to Mr. Spock, rationally, but not repressing, right? But rationalize, why am I going through this? And let's go on with the feelings, because they're triggered by something, right?
Yeah, I think that Oscar ceremony was in the middle of the pandemic or something.
I think it was about yes, about
Yes.
yeah.
So I think it's quite nice that you remember that, because that's a very good example of
Mhm.
the collective, okay,
Yes.
being angry at the situation, being suffering the situation with fears, and individually and collectively, we were like that. So
Hmm.
if there is something that triggers
Hmm.
the anger and the fear, then we are going to project in the situation, okay, that it was bad. Of course, everybody knew it was very unpolite,
Mm-hmm.
and it's we shouldn't laugh at things that are
Mm-hmm.
people suffering, but it's a mechanism of defense, the laughing, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that people do, because otherwise we would all be crying. And
Yes.
I want to, but actually we should be crying sometimes, and not being ashamed of crying. It would be much more mature. But then I want to just hold this thought to read to you some beautiful thoughts that Gelson and Marlowe, in Reflecting the Soul, that it's not translated yet and translated to you, made about the feelings and emotions. When they say in the chapter, it's emotions and feelings that color our lives, but we need to know how to choose the colors. I think this answers quite nicely.
Correct.
They are like forces that can either lead us to our personal hell or to the heaven of our best accomplishments. Okay, so it depends on how we deal with our emotions and feelings. It's not that they are, if they are positive or negative, the judge will have to be ourselves. Okay, and the way that we use them, the knowledge that they bring, the learning, as Marcia said, that they bring us. Okay, so they keep saying that currently the emotional dimension has become for many a synonym of weakness, instability, or imbalance. Exactly your example, Marcia. I remember the Oscar ceremony. And we tend to avoid talking, studying, or discussing what we can't handle. Okay. But the question arises, how is it possible to have control or understand something that is unknown, that is not reflected upon, with which there is no contact? Would it be a vicious cycle in which we try to cancel something we have no control over, and precisely in this attempt to cancel, we are taken over by it? So I think these questions that they make in the chapter is exactly what we are talking about. If we try to cancel, for instance, this modism or whatever in the social media, to canceling somebody because this and that,
Uh-huh.
it's actually very silly, and sorry, people, and childish. Okay,
Uh-huh.
some people will get mad at me, but from the psychological point of view, exactly because Marcia is saying we are collective beings, we learn together. So if I don't like something that the other person is saying, if I do, we have those monkeys, right? If people help me, that I'm not listening, I'm not seeing anything, I won't talk, you are canceled. Okay, so this is like the child. We do with a baby. Oh, who is there? When you do like that with the who is there? Oh, hello, it's me. So we cannot cancel something, okay? Because we are sooner or later we are going to have to deal with, okay? The and if this is a kind of a rule talking about the unconscious and the psychological way that we are and we function, that if something bothers me a lot, okay, a lot, it's not me that is saying this is every psychologist and psychiatry knows that. And I'm sorry, okay, for bringing this, but I think it's very important that people know about that. We are talking from the psychological point of view. If something bothers me a lot, I mean a lot, okay, the answer to this anger or to this rage or whatever you want to call it, it's not in the other person or in the situation. So you could try to cancel, but okay, I'm not going to bother with that. But then, exactly in this moment, you have put the thing that it's bothering you and it's trying to surface to the consciousness, okay? And it was triggered by whatever the people or the person that in the situation brought to you. It was triggered. And it's okay, it was bad, that the person said this or that, but the reaction, the emotional reaction, it was mine. I was feeling it. I could have, oh, I don't care, whatever, I'm not going to listen to this person anymore. Okay. But if I feel very strongly and I get mad and I get to do something and I go to the social media and say this and that and I will cancel and blah, blah, blah. And now I get into fights and things like that. I'm not doing exactly what we are trying to say now, that I should hold. Forget about the person, the situation. Oops, I have a very strong emotion. So I have to hold like a baby. It's mine because I'm feeling my heart, my body, my mind. Okay. All these systems are feeling something. Uh, so I have to pay attention to what I'm feeling and to see why did this situation, this person bother me so much. Okay. And then the answer is not going to be in the person. The answer is going to be inside myself. Wow. Then I have learned something about myself. Isn't that great? Maybe if it's something that I don't like very much, but don't it doesn't matter because now I'm in control. Now I'm in control. If I don't like, I'm going to work on that. So I want this color in my painting, like the author said in this chapter. No, I don't like this color, so I'm going to try to put it down. I don't like the red, 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 red of passion. So I'm going to put some white and I'm going to make a little pink or whatever. So I'm slowing down and I'm in control. I think this it's very good that all these examples that you are bringing because it's very useful and we have to pay attention. We have a beautiful opportunity to know better, like we are doing with the podcast. But we have to choose the colors. So if I use the media, the internet, the social media, to get a little more neurotic, okay, I'm coloring with my own colors. Nobody can be blamed. But if I'm using all this way, and we are talking previously to of the program, the recording of just getting closer, knowing that we are human beings, that our emotions doesn't matter if we have an ocean apart, we can feel each other's emotions and we can help each other. Wow, then we are going to evolve very quickly. I'm positive.
All right. So let's go ahead and maybe wrap it all up because we talked here about emotions and feelings. And you started with Carl Gustav Jung telling us you have to go through it, right? He even uses the word inferno, the hell of that emotions that you don't like about yourself or that you're feeling. By doing it, by acknowledging, then you start to conquer it, which is a very interesting aspect. We talked about Dr. Spock, Mr. Spock, I'm sorry, Mr. Spock, right? Or is it Dr. Spock? Mr.
Dr. Bones is the doctor. It's Mr.
Yes, yes. It's been too long since I've seen. I got to go back to Star Trek. But Mr. Spock, with his duality, which is a beautiful character, if you think from a psychological perspective, right? The duality between I need to be very rational and that's my strength, but then he understands that the conflict with emotion is what really got him to be very strong. And then we talked about very personal examples, right, Anne, of you and you, Jussara, on how do emotions really have a physical impact, known or not known. You actually can taste swallowing the anger or the fear, or not control your body in a reaction to a memory, uh, known or not known, right? So I think those are really good, insightful comments. I invite all of you who is watching us today to come next week, because we have a continuation of this topic. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for being with us. Send us your questions, and we look forward to continue this discussion.
Bye bye. See you all in the next program.